Good morning, this is Kris Shoemaker, also known as Yehudah ben Shomeyr, and you're listening to Coffee with Kris, the time of the day where we share a cup of coffee and share a bit of the Word of God. All right, this is Friday and Saturday's portion of our Torah portion of Chukkat, and it's taken from Numbers chapter 21, verse 6, all the way to chapter 22, verse 1, but we're going to stick in 21 and just focus on verses 5 and 6. So this is the story about the people grumbling and complaining, and all of a sudden the snakes come in, start biting people, and people start keeling over and dying left and right, and Moses makes this bronze serpent that he puts upon a pole and raises it up, and anybody who looks to this bronze serpent will be healed and not die from the snake bites. So let's read verses 5 and 6. It says, "The people spoke against God and against Moses." They spoke against God and they spoke against Moses. "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt?" As if Egypt was the greatest place in the world to be. Come on, it was a land of bondage and slavery. "To die in the desert." The desert's not so bad when you have supernatural provisions. Manna, quail, water from rocks. And then they said, "There's no real food here. There's no water. We're sick of this miserable stuff we're eating." Oh my word, what are they doing? What are they thinking? They're calling the manna, the bread from heaven, angels' food. They're calling it miserable stuff. Talk about looking a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, ingratitude, no respect, as Rodney Dangerfield would say, right? God is getting no respect here. God promised to provide for our needs, not necessarily our wants. Just because they're not getting filet mignon and chicken fricassee, every other day, they're all mad because God's giving this manna? Well, would you rather have nothing and totally starve to death? At least I'm providing for you. So we see that the children of Israel are spoiled, rotten brats that are ingrateful. They're ungracious. They have no thanks or gratitude. And it's ingratitude that causes death. Ingratitude is just as venomous as the snake bite that was killing the children of Israel. Ingratitude is just as contagious as a virus. You have one person who's complaining and belly aching, and then another person hears him. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I feel you. He starts complaining too, and it passes on to the next guy and the next guy. Suddenly you got a mob of people who are dissatisfied over really nothing at all. And then there's a big uproar. Ingratitude is a poison that causes death. And we don't talk about it much, in religious circles, but ingratitude is a major sin. Ingratitude and complaining is a major sin because ingratitude is the opposite of thankfulness. And complaining is the opposite in some regards of faith, because faith, you believe that God is going to provide for your needs. But when you're complaining, you're acting as if God is being unholy, unjust, unfair, unloving, that he's not providing. You're throwing accusations against God when he's actually giving you gifts of sustenance. So, but the good thing is, even the horrible, gross, deadly, poisonous, contagious sin of ingratitude, there is forgiveness, there is grace, there is atonement. That's always an option. You can say, look, I'm sorry, I'm wrong, forgive me. I admit that I was ungrateful. I admit that I was complaining. I admit that my heart and my mind was not in the right place. You are holy, you are just, I am nothing. So God provided a way out, a way of escape, a way of forgiveness and atonement when these snakes were biting these people because of their complaining and ingratitude. They just had to look and live. Just as the old hymn says, "Look and live, my brother, live. Look to Jesus Christ and live." This bronze serpent represented the Messiah that was to come. And the snake represented the origins of sin. So you had sin that was nailed to this cross, nailed to this pole. So this bronze serpent, and bronze represents judgment. It was the brazen altar that the sacrifices were burnt up on. So you had all this symbolism in the bronze serpent, and all people had to do is look and live. Look and be forgiven. Guys, thanks so much for listening. Go out there and have a great day. Shalom and God bless, and remember, always be thankful.